Kathy Vick, deeply awake. Me and Gustav are back. And I'm calling you. I'm coming to you because I wanted to tell you about something I learned about energetic protection. Not a real big fan ever of even thinking, oh, I don't need to be protected. I just never really, it's like, I was kind of always told my light is its own protection. And I used to do some work with screening, putting up screens before I would enter buildings that I knew were going to be difficult for me. I'd put up different colored screens, and then when I, in my mind, as I'm going there, or days before, and then setting it so that it would never leave. It would always be there for me if I ever needed it. And then when I walk through, I would be, whatever your agreement is, untouched by the energy or whatever, prepared, vibrating at a however you want to set your fields. It's your business, not mine. But my overriding feeling was, well, I don't need protection. Partly because that was the peer pressure. I was surrounded by people who, and Cryon also says, hey, you don't need protection. Now, I understand that. I think that is really wise to not be walking around afraid of entities, okay? They have less power than you do. End of list. But to not deny the existence of things that are unpleasant or energies that are hard to deal with, that's not fair to those who can feel them. And so I want to tell you about something that happened. And I also want to talk a little bit about this process. I've been asked to review some things, some certain activities and things that occurred when this process took off with the rocket fuel in 2016. And I've done that, and I want to report a couple things. I find this very interesting that the video is laggy. There's no reason for it. It's the laptop is all queued up, and there's plenty of memory, so I'm not really sure what that's about. So I like to let that ride. Some things just happen with the camera, and I enjoy that. And there's a message. If I begin to feel when there's this kind of lag, then I feel a disconnection between my thoughts and my words. Very unusual that because in this space I can hear my voice, but I feel very disconnected. So if that's any help. That happened the last time, and I did a whole video that was almost like this, lagging. But I knew that it was purposeful, and I knew that I was transmitting energy. It's very, very clear. So anyhow, I guess maybe I'm talking to you from the dark side of the moon or something. Who knows? That's so funny. I have gone far. If it's any consolation, if it helps any, to imagine that maybe I'm just speaking from a distant planet. In fact, I just spent some time looking at Google Earth, but I was looking at Google Sky. And of course, what got my attention was I had to look up Cygnus. Didn't come up. Then I looked up Deneb. Didn't come up. So I just followed the rift up, and there it sat. And it was really just very touching that there sits Deneb, Cygnus A. And it's literally blue. It just warmed my heart. It's like, oh. Because the teachers always said it's been known as it's sometimes known as the blue planet. It's like, yeah, well, so is Earth. So, can you be more specific? They said no. No. If we told you anything more, you wouldn't be here. You'd scatter off, little girl. Which was indeed the case at the time. It was the 90s. Anyhow, for those who are energetically sensitive, I have a couple things to tell you about. Because I've wrestled with this protection thing. And having acknowledged that, yeah, there's an element here that isn't entirely friendly toward friendlies. What do you do with that? So it led me to a park bench, and it led me to a reality that I need to describe, really. As I walked to the park yesterday, they told me you're going to be different walking out of here than walking in. Are you ready? I said, yeah, of course I'm ready. Thanks for letting me know. And the little park that I always hear the Walking in the Garden with Jesus song, that bench was full. And I was a little miffed I'd have to walk farther because my left hip is beginning to hurt. But I did. And I made it to my favorite place. No protective guard of insects today. No. And I sat, and it was kind of a busy time. There was a lot of activity going on. But and a woman in a sari walked up, and I thought she would sit on the bench with me, but she looked as if she was going to sit on the grass beside me, and then next thing I knew, she was gone. And and I was in high meditation. It was thundering. The sky was full of those white floaty things, and way, way, way up high. And my vision has been breaking out into patterns lately. And it was beautiful. There was these beautiful geometric patterns that were, they were just having a ball. Just having a ball. And they were talking to me, and I had to, it's when they come through, say what you will about channeling, it doesn't really matter to me, because what the experience for me is that I'm moved by something that I have a presence within me, and sometimes it likes to help me. And it does so by telling me pretty stories, pointing things out, making connections for me, sanctifying moments, pushing me to do something I wouldn't normally do. And so I let them come through, and they actually gave me a story about a cobbler. Oh, consider a cobbler. So they gave me that beautiful story about the cobbler and the pixie. And that was very helpful and very beautiful. And through all of this, I was just really having a wonderful, beautiful time of just really enjoying the moment. And the moment kept stretching on and on and on and on. And I had brought my Noosa lemon yogurt, so I ate that. And then I sat quietly. And then all of a sudden, and there were people passing now and then. All of a sudden, I heard footsteps to my left, and as the footsteps got closer, the left side of my torso just was twisted up in pain. And as the footsteps continued toward the middle of my field, then my belly hurt. It left my left side and went to my belly, and then I opened my eyes and saw it was a woman. And then I closed my eyes again, and she walked further to the right, and I don't know if I'm mixing up left and right, I never do. But she went from here to here. And as she went, my body went, ow, ow, ow. And she left my fields, and I'm closed my eyes the whole time. And I said out loud, man, I don't want that anymore. I do not want to be that sensitive to people's energy anymore. Holy smokes, I had no idea. And then, just by saying it, it's like, whoa, yeah, that we got to work on that. And then a little dude in a wheelchair went whizzing by. I didn't feel it. And that was pretty much all that happened. And then they explained later what is happening. And it's the explanation I want to give to you because I think it's very helpful. I don't do the protection thing because I'm afraid of people infecting me. I do know that, you literally can have damage when in relation to certain people. It depends on their intent. But it also depends on how mindful you are. And I would prefer not to live in constant defense. It's just not how I like to be. I see the devastation that it creates in people's lives, and I'm just not interested in doing that to my own life. basically. And I've seen it, I've been defensive in my life. Maybe you've noticed that in the past, during my Kali times. Yeah, it is a destructive force, because it's false. So, how do you crack this nut? If you want to be comfortable, you don't want your body going zing, zing, zing. If someone's walking through your fields or, giving you dental care and they're traumatized or whatever, and if you can pick it up in your radio band, then maybe it would be good to address that. It was sort of the thinking. And then it was like pain-free for the rest of the time. And there were lots of people then. And what they try to get across in the park is that, yes, you can hear the thrum. They use that word thrum. They relate it to the traffic. And there were magical birds in the park, and it was so lyrical. The magical poofy little seed pods and the woodpeckers and, oh God. And they said you're aware of all of this magic. And it's in your blood. It feeds you, it soothes you, it is you, it's beautiful. And yes, you now have to deal with these two worlds. Yeah, you always did. But now you're more in one than the other. And before you were in the other and only visited this one. Now you're here all the time. And to think that the thrum is going to go away is going to lead to more pain, more chafing than necessary. The thrum is part of the package. And you'll notice it's in lines, straight lines. And this park is full of circles. And your job is just to combine the two, happy as you please, walk through your day. And I looked up and I saw the clouds. It was actually like clouds of these white thingy-doos. And I realized where I used to go in these moments of high clarity and vision is where I live now. And I used to think, if I could just get here and stay here, it's all I want. But I would then go back into the abyss that was everyday life and pleasing people and doing stuff I didn't understand very well and was losing interest in. And it's just so part of this whole thing is to get to the place where I'm really in alignment and living in alignment rather than living out someone else's script or trying to please individuals, companies, governments, that the only thing you need to know about the peoples you're dealing with is that they can't be pleased. And your only job is to please them. That whole shit? No. Yeah. So I've lately been asked to, they told me that part of the thing about the park was I needed to make a decision. Just a simple decision. Where are you gonna keep your feet? Where are you gonna hang your hat? Where's your heart? What matters to you? So it was a day of sort of integrating all of this. And what they showed me later with the energetic fields is this. They said that, they showed me pictures at the time, but then I got more information and saw how it worked when I then had dealings with people. And it's very benevolent. It's very, very sweet. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But what they explained to me was that after that first encounter of ow, 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 they just brought to my attention that what they will do is sort of seal or protect or whatever, envelope energetically whoever enters the fields. This is why it's important for me to be concentrating on or aware of colors. And it's not like, oh, you have to. It's like, ooh, I get to. Whee! What color's great here? What color? What smell? What flower? What? Ooh, pretty, pretty. So I can keep interested with that. My gift. Because just like the deal I made with mischief makers, You just can't see my car anymore. And every time it comes near, your eyes will be torn away, or your attention will be drawn, and you'll have sweet, sweet thoughts about your mama, or your girlfriend, or your wife, or your mistress, or whoever. You get a little bonus when mama comes barreling through. I don't barrel anymore. I stay at the speed limit. Every now and then when I just go for like 2 seconds, I get bing, I get caught. That's really fun. So it's like, there's no perfect here. But I really, really enjoy going the speed limit. It's like my thing. So, but then of course I get dinged. It's just like, of course, can't win. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's not a game. Anyhow, what they said is that the color and the it's like light that has color, and that's the gift. And so there's never any harm in anyone coming into my fields. In fact, they get a little boost of whatever I happen to decide to run or whatever I'm running. The agreement that I'm just not going to be any more of that white crackly stuff, because I don't want people going mental around me. So colors. They get this lovely package. They're in this beautiful light. They're all lit up, and it's so pretty. And they have good things happen. They feel good. It makes them feel better. And I have set a couple agreements. When you're out of my fields, you are out of my fields. No one sets any more hooks in these fields, baby. They're clean. And they're going to remain that way from here on out. So when you leave my energetic fields, you leave my energetic fields. Unless I say, please come forward. And that is very rare. I mean, I'll share my fields with certain people, but I'm very, very, very conscious of my energetic fields. Always have been, since I was a little teeny tiny girl. Very conscious. Sometimes you can't do anything about it, and then you go mental a little bit, but it's good to be aware of it. Anyway. And the other is that everyone is benefited in some way from contact. That's the only other agreement, that everyone has a benefit. Okay, I can live with those. Okay, so I'm a gift. I'm a gift of light and color and sound and smell. Ooh, I like that. Is that really protection? That's like, if they get a look at my car and they have mischief on their minds or in their hearts, it just the awareness of my car bounces off of their consciousness. That's the agreement, and I have proof that works. I don't doubt it. For about a year, I doubted it. I kept testing it, but I had enough confirmation from a friend who also did it, and did it so well that he kept getting into accidents because people couldn't see him. So I had enough confirmation that yeah, that's a very valid. I had more than one friend. And these are energetic agreements, and a lot of us just do this, and we don't talk about it because nobody would understand. They'd, some would call me a witch. Oh my. And so that's kind of why it's kind of nice to just be immune to both flattery and criticism. Just, people who come at me with criticisms, with full on, I think you're wrong. Here's why. I think you're irresponsible. I think you're a bad person. Blah 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 blah. Oh, I guess it triggered you. Because really, I mean, the three different responses would be positive, neutral, and negative. Neutral, well, it's not your information. Positive, oh, I was looking for that information. Negative, hey, I wasn't ready for that quite yet. Okay? So, and, I'm glad the flattery thing is gone too. I didn't ever really understand that whole energy. I never really felt comfortable with it, but now I really can just identify it and be okay with it, but not resonate with it and not have it pull my string. So anyhow, that was a very nice little energetic explanation of things that I enjoyed and I wanted to pass on. But I went into the park kind of realizing that there is a whole host of stuff that probably hasn't even been talked about, that hasn't even been imagined, that we're now capable of and will soon come to understand. That's the feeling I got. It really hasn't left me. I really feel like a lot of these things are just, they've always been there. We just haven't been hooked up. We just haven't been able to see very good. So maybe this photonic light we've been getting, these cosmic visitors and cosmic triggers and everything, are just the protective or the corrective lenses we need. I don't know. All I know is that this has to do with DNA. It's kind of, for me, it's very false for there not to be a discussion of I'm not even sure if divinity is the correct word. It's sacredness. Think of Native American sacredness, okay? It's more earthy and it's more immediate. This ground is sacred. This pipe is sacred. This chief is sacred. You are sacred. I am sacred. Sacredness, you know? And for those who haven't experienced it, then they don't think it's real. It isn't real to them. Because it's otherworldly. It's not from this agreement field. Not from the lower one. It's from the higher one. And so you can call this DNA activation, you can call it samadhi, nirvana, enlightenment, ascension. It doesn't really matter to me. And I think ascension is really nothing more than the Judeo-Christian version of what people in India know yogis are capable of doing and have done and actively do in a village nearby or in their very village. You know what I mean? So we dress it up and soak it in the blood of God, and think we're clever when we talk about light activations and stuff. Well, you know, it's just there's just different ways to describe evolution, and the thing is that in this energy, oh my God, so much more is available than has ever been available before. So where people have gone before, the furthest people have gone before, we can go further now. So I want to talk about something pretty revolutionary. And I haven't been ready to talk about it until now. I'm surprising myself as I'm speaking that I'm going to talk about it at all. But it really has been what's been coming up as the most impressing, interesting, surprising revelation and topic. So I've talked to you about, yes, there's this event. Sorry. I have, it's just like, I have red eyes and nosy things and lung things, and I think it's from the white doodads. Although it could be other things, I don't know. All I know is it's nasty, so sorry about that. Anyway. I look such a granny. Look at my finger. What I'm getting like huge downloads, but anymore I'm kind of having to get used to how to manage all of it because it's like full on, full time. And I'm glad about it because I'm able to function. It's really awesome. And I want to talk about how it's translating. But it's a way, way different amount, kind, and quality of information than before. It's just more full and more sensual and more applicable in a way. So That's been fun to see, but for me it's always been, hey, if I can't use it, if it doesn't make me more functional and happy, well, I adore a challenge, but I'm not going to hang my hat on something that is flimsy and is going to break if I test it. So I've gone around testing a lot of stuff because I'm not going to put my faith into things that break. And so the whole idea of this light stuff crosses all religions, crosses all, and it goes into things that, you know, you wouldn't expect it go into, like quantum physics and things like that. There's this coherent thread that runs through everything, and people, I think, have been looking for the theory of everything or whatever. But for me, it has to do with this liquid golden light. I keep seeing this moment in, it was Christmas Eve of 2012, when, just like the Matrix movie, when everything goes green and he's able to see, and then again when he's blinded, but then he can see. It's kind of like that. I mean, somebody's an experiencer in that crowd, but it was like that. Everything immediately just burst into liquid golden light, and this person beside me, a part of me, but I mean, I kept thinking it was Jesus. I never looked, but it was like this beautiful, beautiful presence of so much wonder and happiness and excitement. And they kept saying the only law in effect is that of benevolence. The only law in effect is that of benevolence. And I realized how in love we are with one another, how much we love each other, how willing we are to do all of this. And I realized that the conflicts and the troubles and the heartaches, that's part of the love too. And we're doing this cooperatively, and it was so beautiful. And I saw a lot of stuff. It was a really beautiful night. But it's this liquid golden benevolence that has intrigued me and has been knocking at my window pane late at night saying, you want to think about this a little bit more? The only law in effect is that of benevolence. Well, then how do you explain all this other nonsense? Well, you know, compassion isn't benevolence. Misguided compassion, oh my. Damage can be done. And I reflected in the park. There were 2 times in my career when I did things that were by the book and harmful. And I thought I was going to get praise, and I didn't. But I'd done it correctly. It taught me a great deal. Compassion. It might look compassionate to follow the rules, but you got to make sure the rules are compassionate. And that's apparently on a case-by-case basis, or it should be, with discernment intact. But when you don't have discernment, it's important to have rules, right? But if you just follow the rules and you don't ever think, some bad things can happen sometimes. You might escape unharmed. You followed the rules, right? So I learned valuable lessons with that. And benevolence is something else. To me, it's a bit more. It's kin with synchronicity. When things just work out better than you expected, that's benevolence. That's what's been happening. And the other thing, though, that really energized me and made me realize I had to come, and I'll end with this seating thing, was I realized, okay, well, caring, that's so important to demonstrate caring and to show self-care and all that stuff. But it's still soft. We're getting there. We went from is it okay to have a preference? Yes, it's okay to have a preference. Is it okay to say no? Yes, it's okay to say no. Is it okay to do all these things that are more And then realizing that anger was basically my boundary work. And maybe I could work on that. Maybe I could just speak my boundary rather than using anger and victimhood to set my boundaries. Oh, okay, that's good. Then it's, oh well, maybe we should focus on what we can care about. Do I care enough about this to engage it? Because I can't fake caring. I can fake a lot of stuff, but I can't fake caring. And then today, it ends with this, well, yesterday I made appointments. I had a calendar that only goes to June 30th. And I have to make a bunch of appointments. And they're all outstanding. They all got to get done. But I have this calendar problem. It started 2 days before when the night before my son said, you know how you take care of me, Mom? You take care of yourself. You need to go get your hip looked at because it's been hurting me. And the next morning, it's throbbing. And I thought, yeah, throbbing I should check on. So I called, and I got an appointment for Wednesday. And then I said, oh, BT Dubs, can you hook me up with optical? Pew, got right in. The next day, I made the appointment for that next day. And then I said to the optical lady on the phone, hey, could you hook me up with dental? Pew, I was in 45 minutes. I jumped in my car and went to the appointment. So that was just me. And here I am, like, it was 6 phone calls to 2 different, actually, it turned out to be 4 different care clinic areas with many subdivisions and a long list of phone calls. And this is the one thing that just, I'm not very pleasant when I'm making those phone calls. They ask for the same information again and again, and everyone is so sprightly and happy, and it's like, I just don't like doing it. But I had to. And I did. I made all those appointments. Not one of them is for July, August, September. Not one. We're getting it all done in June. It's like, yeah, we'll make more appointments when you get a calendar. Because there are like 2 outstanding ones. Wow. And it's been like that. The synchronicity has been really super thick. And that's why I give you those 2 examples, because it's one thing to say, yeah, there's been a lot of synchronicity. It's quite another to explain. And it's like, it's all like that. The people I meet are extraordinary. They're talking about things that I resonate with. Without exception. And then I began to realize, wow, now I can actually be conscious of what has been going on. When people enter my fields, they're inundated and enveloped in this light. They're having their own experience, and I'm just giving them extra love and light while they're in my presence. Well, I really like that. I can get used to that. I'm not hurting anyone anymore, and I used to always be afraid that I was hurting people because the message was, ow, stop talking, you're hurting me. Well, okay. I did a lot of talking. I did a lot of writing. And now, I'll get back to doing a lot of living. I've always made sure that I live an abundantly rich life, but this is on a different level. It's just different. It's more cooperative, and I am more willing to take on some responsibility for my own energetic management, and that means being aware of where I'm at. And if I am wobbly with anger or resentment or sadness or any of that stuff, that's not anybody else's, that's mine. And I just need to get clear and address what's going on and then move forward. And that can be done quickly. Part of what's been coming now is being able to tap. So if you are in a really, really good altered state, you're really running smooth, you're doing good, and you're maintaining it or whatever, maybe you're not, just you're in the moment. Tap. Find a place where you want to tap. Connect this sensation with the reality you're experiencing. I would often do that with my heart. And by doing so, I would remember a few things, and that would help me a great deal if I was in the middle of something that was attacking or uncomfortable or dark or whatever, you know. But tapping, too, when you're in these altered states, can be very helpful. So this is what I understand about the future. And I say this with trepidation because I'm sitting on the park bench getting this information thinking, yeah, maybe I should just keep this to myself. There's a lot I'm keeping to myself. That's the wonderful part of all of this. It just keeps coming. I'm not penalized for not talking about it and having to choose what to share and what not. But, you know, I think about what might happen if I were to transition and go boop, and for whatever reason just be able to speed up my physiology to the point where I am no longer physically in this reality. I have moved my biology up frequentially so that I'm no longer visible, basically. And I wondered about, you know, what would be greeting me on the other side. What's that about? And I've heard this mythology, which is, you know, very, very advanced esoterica, but is borne out by QHHT experiencers and by my own meditations and downloads. So that's why I bring it up. And maybe it starts in a debate. Oh no. Maybe it starts an argument. Oh no. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Better to put the information out and have people go, yeah, well, let's kick these tires. Hey, if those tires don't put you all the way down the road, you should abandon the vehicle and keep going, right? If you find anything that I say to be, oh, that doesn't work for me, how about saying, oh, that doesn't work for me, and moving on? I do that with stuff all the time. I don't spend a lot of time going, those jackasses. You know, sometimes I'll say a thing or two if I think it's harmful what people are doing, but for the most part, you're going to be on your way. You're going to do your own thing, right? At least isn't that the gold standard? You just live and let live? I think so. Anywho, so I've been thinking about the concept of that we're not going full ascension. We have to do a step back, and we're going through another Eden period. But I know that we've created the body of God with these 12 planets that are in full ascension, and we're the last one. We've achieved the light quotients, and now it's just, you know, it's a fait accompli. Now it just has to play out. So, what happens next? And I've known for a while that seeding involved. I was the visitor, and I was mating with a human, and the human had my partner's soul incarnated, and because of the soulic position, it worked, and that's how mating was done. That's how seeding was done. It was, maybe you call it a walk-in situation, I don't know, but that's what I understood. Maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. So I was thinking, if this is an Eden thing, and if you can either do it consciously or unconsciously, then I don't know, would I like to pop into some really cool forest and meet up with, like, the Ancient of Days, my love upon love, my mirror half that I'm created with from the one point of light that I once was? Because there was one and then there were two. So that'd be kind of groovy, wouldn't it? Getting back to the source of it all, getting back to the first life. And I was thinking, well, wait a minute. That'd be kind of a weird Eden. All these different people on their own different planets having a relationship with their one true love. Isn't that a little bit, I don't know, Sleepless in Seattle, Kath? But then I thought, well, if there's like a core group of people who just individuated a whole bunch, and they want to go on to do another planet, I don't know, what are the rules? Are there any? I don't know. If I were to do it consciously, then I only want to do things consciously. I don't want to do anything else unconsciously. This is not my cup of tea anymore. I had to wake up once. I'm not doing it again. So I want to be a conscious creator. Does that change my trajectory? Does it change which planet I'm going to get pinged to? I don't know. I don't know any of it. But I just intuitively, it just seems like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Isn't that the whole point? To keep moving on, to keep exploring, to keep trying new things. Is that like a scourge that comes upon a planet and visits it with many things it didn't expect? I don't think it's like that. I think everyone and everything involved is done with will. Plus, I think that, it's creator creating with creator. So, whatever. Maybe little mind can just take a little nap there and just let it be for a little bit. So I don't know. It's kind of neat to think that human beings are the ones who are going to be seeding the next planet, don't you think? And then maybe if we I don't know, recover, we can do the full ascension. You think? Maybe maybe we're capable now and we weren't capable whenever I was hearing that information, which was in 12. Maybe things have changed, because some of my writing and some of my work would indicate that it's a lot more rosy than it was reported even 6 years ago. So I know that we're wrapped in the arms of Creator. I know that the earth is wrapped in Creator's arms, and we are safe. I know that we are here because we love each other. We're invested in each other. We care about each other because we are each other. we just forget these simple facts, and we take from one another and belittle each other and give each other a hard time. And sooner or later, that's going to begin to look as ridiculous as it actually is. Big waste of time. And this dark that everyone's been fighting against will be seen as a very lovely creation tool. But there are far more interesting things afoot. And it's best to just stop obsessing and start getting creative. So I'm at that place of now, what's important? I did these appointments. Those were important. I've made a dent in my self-care. That's important. I've actually solved a lifelong koan. That's important. What do I care about? I care about the things that are important to me, actually. So part of today's effort was to just simply jot down the things that I didn't write the things down that I care about. I would have taken, a couple hours, and it wouldn't have been as specific as I wanted it to be. How do I translate this now? How do I make it come to life? How do I make this benefit me personally and then therefore everyone around me? Well, I think it has to do with committing to paper the things that I think are important to pursue, to do, to wake up and pursue and do. That's a really nice handle. But I like that caring is I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it when I'm trying to think things through. And I discover, much to my surprise and amazement, that it's my natural fallback to be loving, to give people a pass, to try and figure it out. Boy, oh boy, if that isn't when that's not the case, it gets really ugly and mean around here. I'm a tough one. When I've had it, I don't have a lot of patience sometimes, and I'm not very nice sometimes. And I've had to work on that. I've had to realize that it's what people experience with me, that they take with them, and that I have a responsibility to give them something that's of value and not something that takes something away from them. I know what it's like to be taken from. I know what it's like to feel belittled, shamed, made to be not important. I know what it's like to not be cared about or for. As a nurse, you think the patients in the bed are caring about my comfort? I would certainly hope not. That's a patient who's not doing it right. You get back to what's important, you. Get back to what's important here. Let me just hold space for you. It was my deepest desire to be able to be as loving as I am with patients toward all humanity, especially those who are in my face saying, "You're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong. You're a failure. You frighten me." How do I do that? How do I love somebody who I give my heart to and then it doesn't work out? How can I stop loving, yet how do I continue to love? These are very, very good questions to be asking, don't you think? On a Saturday, I do. So I said in my last video, yeah, I can go down, I know, life's shit. Name me. I can go down any weird alleyway you want, and we can talk all about it. So what did I do today? Well, I went down the rabbit hole a little bit. I posted Webster Tarpley. God, I love him. Did a whole chapter on how Bush managed himself and the nation after that attack. Mind-blowing. Buy that book just for that last chapter. It's stunning. It's like a reset. It's like, oh yeah, that's how it should have gone. Oh yeah, because that whole thing was so slidey. That just radiates that weird energy. Beginning to end. So does Oklahoma City, Waco. There's a few that just emanate that feeling. JFK, MLK. But 9/11, whoa, like I've said, that was like on steroids. So I posted some of that. And I posted a really cool song of like, I've Got Your Number. And it's so fun because it's like, and see, I don't ever personalize this stuff. It's not like I ever am thinking about that as a person. I'm thinking about that like love songs. I think about that like the energy of that creepy energy. I'm not singing it to a human being. I'm singing it to an energy. I know, it's weird. So maybe I'll leave you there. Deep in the weirdness that is Kathy Vick's mind and heart and psyche. I do want to do one, and I'm going to I think I may. I think I just may do it after this. Maybe I'll change my shirt. I don't normally do that. I love this particular shirt. Anyhow, I want to talk about my Merkabas, and I want to talk about this thing that they did with my Merkabas, and about the chakra system, and a lot of really weird esoteric stuff. And either you're on for that kind of stuff or you're not. But if that's your cup of tea, oh holy smokes. Because I was living all that out, not knowing what the heck was going on. Not understanding what was being done, what had been done, what was possible, what was coming next. It was just kind of the work created the environment in which this kind of knowledge could be treated safely. That was one of the ideas behind Deeply Awake. I have to have one safe zone where no one's going to be nipping at me saying I'm stupid or dumb or wrong or the devil or anything. And if you do, I'm just going to delete your comment. I totally get it. You think I don't think that about myself sometimes? I talked about how worried I was for my own mental health sometimes because is any of this normal? It's like going to a park and having full-on visions and being chatted to and being given beautiful stories that totally make sense, totally corroborate with the scene that's going on in my life and sets the energy for the next week or so. I'm cool with it, but it's not typical. And it took a lot getting used to. And I don't mind anybody having a trouble with getting used to it. I had trouble getting used to it, you know? And I've done my best every time I've come in writing or in video to just be as present and as real as I possibly can be, as authentic and as whole. Capture something whole and then disperse it, because I don't want to carry it anymore. I want to move on to something new. And that sort of fed the creation. And now it's more like, oh, well, what's important to me? I know what's important to me. I know what really matters to me. I know what I am willing to go the mat for. And I know what I'm not willing to lift a finger for. And writing those things down, why not? Why not? Why? Because then it's committed and you can't ever change? No, it just, you took the opportunity to jot some things down. Those were preliminary thoughts. That's the other thing about this work, is like, it's completely always in motion. It's always in process, as are you. So if you're holding me to a standard of, hey, in 6 years ago you weren't saying that, most of it's, I mean, it's just coherent. It's the same message again and again and again, just lived different ways, I think. I mean, looking at it. But if I didn't understand something, that was my biggest fear, is I'm going to be complete, my pants are going to be down about this issue, because I'm completely in the wrong here. And that's where they have been very instrumental in working with me. There's some things I haven't published. There's other things that I did, and then they came through and said, you pull that now. That's too advanced. It's not okay. It's not safe yet. I didn't know. I thought it was okay. So they work with me as far as what gets out. And so I'll end this way. There are times when I get distressed and I get sad because I don't have people in my environment except for my son and Melissa, and there's a lot of friends who are cool with it. But like, there's nobody running alongside saying, "You go, girl," except for my son. And Linda's cool, but she doesn't read my stuff. And I don't have anybody who is reading along who is in my life. Not anybody. So for knowing that is kind of helpful, right? Because you might think that I'm just surrounded by people who throw rose petals at my feet. Au contraire. Au contraire. Au contraire. And so it's been my task to engage more people who are open and friendly, toward a friendly. I think that's how we began, isn't it? And so I kind of decided, when I get to 1.5K on my New Earth and Ascension information, in my perfect life, I have a bunch of buddies who know how important it is to me, and so they throw me a surprise party. It's really so sweet. We get a big cake from Whole Foods. And in a different reality, me and my son get a little cake from Whole Foods, and I get to drink a hard cider. Ooh, I don't ever drink anymore. A hard cider in the hot tub while we eat the cake and celebrate this milestone. That's a pretty good reality. And then there's the reality that just, it's like this vast wasteland of people, of crickets. It's like, all right, you guys, the cricket land, here you go. I'll be in the hot tub with my son. It'll be dark. The sky is going to be beautiful and full of stars. The air will be cool. The water will be hot. He'll probably be in the swimming pool. He usually winds up there, and I'm in the hot tub like a little granny all by herself. With no jets, just stillness. Celebrating this milestone. But this is what he told me one time when I was sort of bummed out and like, should I go forward? I'm getting so tired of this. When is it going to stop? When does it end? When does normal programming resume? And he said, you don't understand, Mom, because he gets really mad if I talk about deleting. He long ago said, don't you ever delete anything ever again. It's important what you post stands. And I asked him why. And he said, there's more people than just people on Earth following along, and you are helping them to adjust things. And I had also seen how all of these videos send up little signals. And the signals go on, they never stop. And it makes me so happy, and it goes up, both sides of the earth. And all these little points of light just saying, yeah, here it is. And I think it helps them to it's one thing to have telepathic communication, but I've found lately that I need to actually say the words, and then they change it. That happened when I was driving, too. Something was going on. And I said, I don't like this. I need to change this. Oh, yeah. My head was like, I was feeling physically really super uncomfortable. It was just so much energy. And I was driving. And I was uncomfortable. And I said, whoa, that's too much. You need to back off. I'm driving. And they did. It was just like, I felt great, right, all of a sudden. That pressure was gone. So, again, talking about energetic management and responsibility for that. So that's a long talk, but it's well worth it because there's not a lot of people talking about how to manage your fields right now. And it's one of the very first things I learned working with the teachers, but it's truly, these tenets I learned long ago with my first teacher, and I was still in high school. Just the basics of energetic management. And then it's, gotten more esoteric and advanced as I've aged. I've done a lot of that. So there you go. Aren't you lucky? I think so. I think you're a lucky ducky. You know something now that not a lot of people do. They know it intrinsically. We all know this stuff. We all know that we can sense each other. This is acknowledging what it is that is unspoken and apparently taboo. We're not supposed to acknowledge that we're connected to one another, that we can feel each other and sense each other, and sometimes even know what each other are thinking. When you start getting people's full akashas while you're talking with them over the phone, or singing with them in choir, or driving with them, then you begin to understand how important energetic management is for mental health and clarity. Selah.